The Lord of the Rings is so addictive that people rewatch the movies every year. They reread the books. It's remained the most popular fantasy series for over half a century. But why? Well, it's got political wrangling and powerful characters, it's got cosy moments around the table with food and companionship, and it's got real beauty woven through it. And there's a reason those moments stick. Because they are pleasure buttons, small sensory and emotional rewards that make a setting feel satisfying to inhabit. And whether you're writing epic fantasy, cozy fantasy, hard sci-fi, or space opera, these pleasure buttons can make your world building more addictive and make your readers and players more eager to return to it. Hi, I'm Janet, a published author, a game writer, and the co-founder of World Anvil. And this is the pleasure button theory, a way to make your world and its stories irresistible. In 1954, an experiment proved something extraordinary. Rats would perform an action repeatedly to receive electrical stimulation in particular parts of their brain, parts associated with pleasure. Give the rat access to a lever and it would continually shock itself to press its own reward button. And humans, by the way, are the same. We love pleasure. More than that, we seek it out. And according to Dr. Jennifer L. Barnes, it's one of the aspects that defines a successful novel or game. And she should know. Dr. Barnes is not just a New York Times bestselling novelist, she's also a leading expert on the psychology and science of fiction. Fiction, Dr. Barnes argues, is a pleasure technology. Because, and this is important, our brains can't tell the difference between what we imagine and what we experience. Fiction writers, filmmakers, and game designers manipulate this, creating imagined experiences, from eating ice cream to rushing into battle, that deliver the same neurochemicals we'd experience in real life. If you've ever played a game that left you stressed, or read a book that left you glowing, that's why. And the most successful creators are the ones who arrange their stories to cleverly appeal to our hardwired evolutionary buttons, the pleasure buttons. That's often, Barnes observes, why fiction that's objectively kind of poor or derivative can still skyrocket in popularity. Of course, plot and character and skill still matter, but fiction that succeeds is fiction that delivers little hits of pleasure along the way. It's what keeps your audience, your players and your readers, hooked. So what are these pleasure buttons? These levers that will hook in our audience? Well, the first one is beauty. And before you roll your eyes and say, well, obviously, beauty isn't just decoration. It's one of the oldest reward systems we have. Newborn babies are hardwired to respond to symmetry and harmony in patterns and face shapes. And while some aesthetics are cultural, studies show that everyone finds particular visual and sensory experiences pleasurable. Water, natural fractals like coastlines and snowflakes, colours and light, to name just a few. So as creators, how can we leverage a pleasure button, like this first example, beauty, in our creations? Of course, you can use it as a one-off in a story level, a beautiful character, an awe-inspiring MacGuffin. But to make your stories truly addictive, bake that pleasure button directly into your whole world. That way, it'll find its way into your work again and again. And that's exactly what Tolkien did with Middle-earth. His people are master crafters and builders. Dwarves create beautiful artifacts. Elves craft stunning architecture. Hobbits garden in neat rows of flowers and potatoes. And wherever you look, there's art and poetry and song. Then there's the shining waterfalls of Rivendell, the rolling green fields of the Shire, vast mountains towering with dramatic grandeur. This huge natural beauty, by the way, keys into something called aesthetic awe, which is a common shortcut for creating wonder in science fiction and fantasy. I'll talk more about how to harness that in another video. And even Middle-earth's history is full of beauty. The Entwives' gardens, the lost splendour of Numenor, the epic tales of ancient heroes. Master world builder Tolkien world-built beauty into the cultures, the history, and the very land of Middle-earth, which means that pleasure button appears everywhere, and he frequently stops the plot for it. Sure, the Fellowship is racing to save the world, but the prose pauses for sunsets and trees, songs and stars, gardens, rivers, and mountain views. Those create the real, tangible pleasure of being in Middle-earth, luring audiences back to the world in its many forms. And that is exactly what a pleasure button is supposed to do. But if world-building beauty lets us imagine living in an awe-inspiring world, world-building status and power lets us imagine mattering in one. Because as social animals, which humans are, we pay a lot of attention to status and power. And there's a good evolutionary reason for that. For most of human history, status wasn't just about ego. Higher status meant food, protection, allies, and opportunities. Power meant survival. And even today, humans are obsessed with status. Who gets respected? Who gets listened to when they speak? Now remember, our brains can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. So letting your audience vicariously slip into a powerful, high-status role in your world will keep them coming back for the next hit. This is where world-building factions with hierarchies can help, because they're engines for power and status. Sure, that can be royal families, but you can also use guilds and universities, paladins and military, or Jedi orders and dragon riding squadrons. Factions can be hard to keep track of, and when you've got multiple hierarchies with lots of different titles, well, brain says bye-bye. Unless you have a secret weapon on your side, the power of World Anvil. Because World Anvil supplies you with prompts to build out your factions, their titles, even keep track of their diplomatic relationships and which characters have which allegiances. So you can focus on those pesky players and main characters, trusting that all your world building is in one place and easy to use. If you're interested, learn more at worldanvil.com or check out our brand new Diplomacy Webs tutorial, which we just refreshed and made it. I hope that you enjoy it and it is helpful. So obviously, properly world-built factions are a great source of this power and status pleasure button. But there is another way that you can use it, and that's individual prowess. In fantasy, that often shows up as magic, magical characters, and chosen ones. They're a sure way of vicariously making our audience feel powerful and special. In sci-fi, this is often replaced by exceptional skill or prowess. Think Starfleet Academy, where everyone is the best of the best. Or individual power can be achieved through technology. Think cyberpunk enhancements, Iron Man, or Batman. I am Batman. This power pleasure button also includes rising to power, like rags to riches stories. In that case, building out social hierarchies, like a system of classes and castes, or prestige occupations like adventurer or explorer, is a good way to inject this into your world. Meta mechanics like leveling up in RPGs are designed to key into this too. They're literally built around visible progression in status and power. And you can create mythic or legendary figures, a witch queen, an ancient emperor, to seed your past with memorable examples of power that will come back across multiple stories. All of this adds addictiveness to your world building. But there's an even more effective pleasure button, one harking back to our most essential primal drives. Because physical touch is a powerful human desire. And unlike beauty or status, this one is incredibly simple. We humans are social mammals. From the moment we're born, touch is one of the primary ways we experience safety, comfort, affection, and connection. A hug, holding someone's hand, curling up under a warm blanket, or petting a dog. These experiences feel good for a reason. Scientifically, physical touch helps us regulate stress, build trust, strengthen social bonds, and reinforce feelings of safety. It's one of the oldest reward systems we have, and it's a powerful pleasure button to hook your audience. As creators, we can build out touch as a sensory detail. Soft furs in front of a fire, warm stones in the sun. But that's more of a scene level. Building opportunity for physical touch at a setting level makes it a deeper part of your world, and something that you can use across multiple stories and campaigns to hook your players and readers. So how can you build physical sensation at a setting level? Actually, it's not hard at all. You just need to use cultural traditions. Even in Jane Austen's time, when physical touch between men and women was more taboo, certain cultural traditions actually promoted it. Helping someone into a carriage, dancing, even some games. These moments of physical touch are rare, ritualized, and highly anticipated by characters and readers. It makes them incredibly powerful, and you can use that too. So what traditions involve physical touch in your world building? Do you have Na'vi bonding or Vulcan mind melds? Are there specific dances or traditions like Auld Lang Syne? Perhaps dragon riders braid ribbons into one another's hair before a dangerous flight. Or dwarven family touches foreheads after a long time apart. You can also focus your world building on professions that involve physical touch. Barbers and massage therapists, Roman-style bathing attendants, and of course, the world's oldest profession. For more on that, check out my video on Rule 34 and world building, but you can totally world build courting rituals for your cultures too. Another aspect of this physical touch pleasure button is pets. Stroking a pet involves soft fur, warmth, and gentle movement, a combination that harks back to caregiving in our infancy. So creating a culture of pet keeping is a great way to add this pleasure button and hook your audience. After all, everybody loves a fluffy sidekick. Pets are actually a bit of a cheat, because they activate a bunch of other rewards too. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, and reduced cortisol. That's because they mimic our experience of socializing and bonding with other people. Which is our next pleasure button. Social connection needs no introduction. We've evolved to find strength in numbers, and we long for social inclusion. And there are a bunch of ways to include social connection in your world building, even beyond the traditions we've already mentioned. One is through shared identity. Sports teams, clans, schoolhouses, and religious communities all create a sense of belonging. And don't forget to create communal social spaces in your setting. Whether it's the 10 forward on your starship, a tradition of taverns, or cozy coffee shops, people need third spaces to socialise, and these are the spaces your audience can't wait to revisit. Festivals and markets have historically been a space to meet new people and socialise with the community, and communal work, like harvest time or raising a barn, is a good excuse for socialising too. And you can create cultural traditions around hospitality. A traveller must be offered shelter. Neighbours help rebuild damaged homes. Clan members cannot refuse assistance. These social bonds don't just glue your societies together, they'll glue your audience to the page and your readers to the table, through the sense of belonging, of vicarious inclusion, and the warm fuzzies. There are more universal pleasure buttons, and each of those can be broken down into hundreds of experiences and examples. Competition is a big one. It's the reason that Highlander, There Can Only Be One, and Game of Thrones are so compelling. But competition can also be lower stakes, like sports teams, contests, arm wrestling, races, and rivalries. Another is wealth and abundance. High society, even when it's presented as an unfair contrast, like in the Hunger Games, is something our brains adore. Abundance can also be an apple tree heavy with fruit, or a table rich with food. And food is another universal pleasure button, touching evolutionary triggers designed to literally keep us alive. There's a reason for all of those gratuitous food scenes in anime, after all. Food is absolutely my favourite pleasure button in world building. I love fantasy food. So which of these pleasure buttons were you already using in your own work? And which ones are you going to try next? Oh, and make sure to share any others that I haven't covered here. And next time you're world building, consider which pleasure buttons are you keying into? Status or social connection, physical sensations or aesthetic beauty. Because the seeds you sow in your world building will bear fruit across all the tales you set in that world. And whether you're running games or writing stories and novels, those pleasure buttons will make your setting an irresistible place for your players and readers to inhabit and keep returning to. Oh, and if you want those pleasure buttons to really hit home, you'd better make sure you're delivering them right at a scene level too. And that means harnessing the power of sensory detail. If you think that's as simple as the 5 senses, then this next video is about to transform your understanding. I'll see you over there. Now grab your hammer and go world build.